welcome to my channel. My name is Kaylee and today I'm going to be doing my kind of late January TBR. So in this video I'm going to be going over 3 books that I've already read this month, and then I'm going to be going into the other books I want to read this month, and then the Winter Biannual Bibliothon TBR that I have. I thought I'd just include this in this video because it is part of my January TBR. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So the first book I have here I read for a English class that I'm in where you can kind of like choose what you want to read. And right now I'm reading Agatha Christie and like kind of like mystery, scientific-y, poisoning kind of books. So the first book I have is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I already finished this book and I think I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. It's about these 10 strangers that are sent to this island, and they don't know why really they are being sent to this island. And at the beginning of the book, when they first get to the island, a tape is played where it's revealed that they were all involved in some type of death, and they were all responsible for some type of death, and then one by one they slowly start dying. They have to try to figure out who the killer is before they all end up dead. So the next book I have here I also finished, and I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and that book is Sparkling Cyanide by Agatha Christie. I'm going to talk more about my thoughts on this in my wrap-up, but this book is about a girl who commits suicide or presumably commits suicide, and a year later there are anonymous letters saying she did not commit suicide and she was murdered. And it's kind of a mystery to try to figure out if she was murdered or if she killed herself, and if she was murdered, who murdered her. And the next book I have here I also finished this month already, and that book is Hooked by Katherine Greenman, and this book was about a girl who gets pregnant in high school and she has to kind of deal with the aftermath of that and of not being able to go to college and having her boyfriend not take part in the raising of the child, and this book was pretty good. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars and I definitely enjoyed it. So I have 3 more books here that are not part of the Winter Biannual Bibliothon, and the first book that I'm hoping to get to this month is The Disappearing Spoon by Sam Kean. This is also for that class, so I'm definitely hoping to get to this in the next few days. Each chapter in this book is about all the elements on the periodic table, and each element has a story attached to them, and it's kind of like history mixed with science, and I think it's going to be a really fun read. So the next book I have here is actually the book I'm currently reading, and that book is The Merciless 3 by Daniel Vega. I actually read the first book when I was around 14 or 15 and I really enjoyed it. I read it in one day, and then I read the second book and I didn't like it as much, but I still decided to pick up this book because I just want to see how the series ends, and I feel like I owe it to my 14-year-old self to finish the series. So the next book I have here is also for that class, but this is kind of a more like if I get to it book, and I'm actually halfway through it, so hopefully I'll be able to finish it this month. And that book is The Poisoners Handbook by Deborah Blum. This book is about 1920s New York City, and it goes through the time period talking about different poisons and gases that were attributed to the deaths of a lot of people during this time, and kind of like talks about the advancements in toxicology science. So yeah, this book's pretty kind of interesting so far, but I just want to finish it and see how it ends. So now I'm going to get into my Biannual Bibliothon TBR. So the first book I actually just ordered, but I don't have a physical copy of it, and that book is Otherworld by Jason Segel and Kirsten Miller. I'm not really sure what this book is about, but it's the group book for the Winter Biannual Bibliothon, so I definitely want to pick it up and read it with everyone else. So the next book I have here is going to satisfy 2 categories of this reading challenge, and that is read a sequel and read a book that was mentioned in another book, movie, etc. So that book is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, and this is kind of like a companion novel sequel to Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and it is about the fan fiction that was written by the main character in Fangirl, so it was mentioned quite a few times in Fangirl, and it satisfies those 2 categories. From what I know about this book, it's kind of like Harry Potter meets a gay main character meets vampires, and that's all I really know, and that's all I really care to know about this book. So yeah, hopefully I'll be getting to this book this month. So the next book I have also satisfies 2 of the categories, and that is read a book you've never heard of before and read a book that is under 200 pages. And I had a really hard time finding a book that was under 200 pages on my shelf, so this is really thin, and that book is Griffin and Sabine by Nick Bandcock, and this was recommended to me from my friend's mom, and so of course I've never heard of it before now. And this book doesn't have page numbers, but it's like this big, so I know that it has less than 200 pages, and from what I can gather, this is a story about the correspondence between the main characters Griffin and Sabine, and I don't really know much about it other than that, other than there's 2 other books that are like companion novels to this, so hopefully I'll be getting to this book during the Winter Biannual Bibliothon. So the next book I have here satisfies the category of read a book about mental illness, and the book I chose for this is Perfect Escape by Jennifer Brown. I'm not really positive what this book is about. All I know is that there's a girl and her brother, and he has OCD, and she decides to bring him on this road trip. Other than that, I don't really know anything about this book, but I have read another book by Jennifer Brown, and I remember really enjoying it. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this and see what it's all about. So the last book I have here satisfies the category of read a backlist title, which basically means a book that was written before 2017, I think they explained in their video. So the book I picked for this is The Countdown by Kimberly Durting, which was released in 2016, so that qualifies for this category. This is the 3rd book in a series about a girl who gets abducted by aliens and is returned to Earth 5 years later and has not changed at all and has no memories of the past 5 years. I really just want to wrap this series up and finally get it onto my read shelf, so that's why I chose this book for this readathon. So that is all for my January TBR. Comment down below what you guys are going to be reading this month and if you're going to be participating in the Winter Biennial Bibliothon. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Bye!